Having a family member, particularly a mother, that's a narcissist can be very, very heartbreaking because there's just something missing. The other thing that happens is the way that people develop into people pleasers as a result. You see, surviving as a child in the company of narcissists requires hypervigilance, meaning being completely attuned with the emotions of others and then being responsible for those experiences, meaning you will feel guilty or you will feel very anxious in the presence of anybody else's suffering, for example. Like if you see someone that's sad, you will find yourself in catch 22s. Like, for example, if a homeless person approaches you and asks for help, you're going to get a rush of anxiety where your decision making is going to get stuck within a fight or flight paradigm where saying no invokes severe fear of conflict or guilt. Where if you perceive having the ability to help a victim, you will feel obligated to it. But saying yes will also encounter confusion or the potential of being taken advantage of. Because you see, this profound afflicted decision making causes tremendous amounts of usury because people pleasers make decisions to follow a path of least emotional resistance. And because these patterns come from childhood and are brought up involuntarily in these stressful moments that are only stressful because of the invocation of these reactions, well, the patterns cause the usury. But you see, from the experience of the people pleaser, it's everyone else. You see, they feel disempowered at the hands of people when it's their own fear that disempowers them because they are conflict avoidant. And if you're not going to stand up for yourself, then you're going to get nothing but conflict. Yeah, because you allow the perpetuation of circumstances that you yourself do not have the courage to address because you're so afraid of disappointing people, losing people, being abandoned. And so, since you became an external validation seeker, because narcissists, since they don't feel love or empathy, they force you to constantly need to demonstrate that you care about them. So now you have powerful feelings of being good is being nice. So being nice and doing what people want means you're a good person. And then not having people like you or having them be unhappy means you're a bad person. And so now you are a walking billboard for guilt trips. And so you get used and manipulated because anybody can just act disappointed. Because newsflash, narcissists don't feel disappointed. They don't feel anything. They don't have empathy. Why don't they have empathy? It's because the fight or flight mechanism takes away all their emotions. And so they live in pervasive fear, fear of being embarrassed, humiliated, fear of not belonging. They live in chronic abandonment. They can never overcome abandonment. They will throw gears or wrenches in every gear of every relationship. They need reactive abuse in order to assess whether you care or not because they can't tell. And because they're transactional and because they don't trust anything and because they can't feel the positive emotions associated with love really, they don't have the ability to really experience love. And so when you do things for them, they feel entitled to it, but they feel entitled because the neurological activity present within the mind of the narcissist replicates that of an infant child, and an infant's child is only the emotions required to induce a caregiving relationship with a mother. And so reflective emotions that we take advantage of and play peekaboo because we all love seeing the rapid state changes we can bring about in young children because we are hardwired to care for children and babies. And so when you're playing peekaboo with someone else's child in the line of Walmart while the mother's checked out and checking her dating applications and the baby's looking at you, well, that's why you intuitively do it. Is because those rapidly formed emotions reflect those of the caregiver because it corrals them into a positive state. It is a necessity for a helpless child that cannot clean up after themselves, cannot fight, cannot run, cannot feed, cannot hunt, cannot even understand and navigate the world. They're helpless. You know, a little jelly bean. If there was a more helpless organism on the planet, it would be the human being. Look at a little child. Like, what animal wouldn't want to eat that little protoplasmic bundle of love, you know? I mean, soft, chewy, delicious, can't even fight. Its bones are soft. It can't run. It can't do anything. And it's that way for a year, just laying there. And so the helplessness of a human being is because of the advanced neurological network we call a brain that has to develop advanced pattern recognition. That a human child can't even see a triangle or square. That the book of Genesis is not talking about the formation of the universe, but the formation of the first person experience of consciousness. Let there be light would be opening your eyes for the first time. The tree of life is the limitless domain of the human imagination, the kingdom of God. The tree of knowledge of good and evil with the serpent, well, the serpent is the ego, the voice of analyzing, the architect of subjective reality that keeps telling you you need to be fixed, changed, better, improved, you're not enough, you're abandoned, you're this, you're that, and just narrates your life like an evil Morgan Freeman. And so there you are competing. There you are trying to prove yourself. There you are getting stuck in abuse cycles. Why? Because your subjective, entitled interpretation of reality is one giant reproduction of the same emotional drives that defined your experience at 5 years old when you lost your present moment consciousness at around that age. And so people pleasing is a behavioral dynamic that originates out of the need to idealize the parents and idealize the future to give the child hope and give them control in an environment where they're helpless and small. So a 4 or 5-year-old child trying to navigate a devouring mother is going to have to cater to the mother's desires and is going to learn that they are a good child when the mother's happy and they're a bad child when they're not. And so you will intuitively feel unsafe. People pleasers are the type of person that will become the lead detective at a party if someone is missing their keys or wallet. Watch. Have you ever felt guilt when somebody says, I'm missing $5? You'll actually pull your pockets empty. You'll open your purse and dump it on the table. You'll literally set up a CSI, just to absolve yourself. People pleasers the type that wants to buy the pizza, bring it to the party as a way to be valuable because they live chronically devalued. They feel like they're not enough. They never feel like they're perfect yet. Figured out and be perfect is the primary driving mechanism of the life of ego of most people that aren't narcissists. They're trying to figure it out and trying to be situationally perfect so that they could someday be happy. The happiness that ego steals is your deal with the devil. And so as you try to figure it out, that need to figure it out is a result of the cognitive impairment that the fight or flight invokes, enveloping you as a predatory threat at the age of 5, forcing you into a permanent state of fight or flight where you fear the abandonment of your parents, which are also brought into the fight or flight mechanism so that you fear their disappointment and disapproval as if it was death itself. So the fear of failure, the fear of rejection, the fear of not belonging, the fear of abandonment, the fear of being alone, the fear of being not enough is mitigated through external validation and confirmation of arbitrary projected necessities like success or getting a phone number to avoid rejection. And then, because these emotions powerfully contextualize your external experience, you live in vast patterns of interpretation where all women look the same, all men look the same, where you keep seeing mommy and daddy everywhere you go, and then you're a victim to it. What do you think all these alpha men people are doing when they complain about modern women? Well, they're projecting their own fear of rejection as if they need to overcome it by getting money, by being big, by having muscles, by having luxury cars. And that's why it's never enough. You see, they keep chasing their tail, these narcissists, because the anxiety never goes away. Because for them, this fight or flight mechanism was set off in infancy when they did not understand the world. It permanently invoked a permanent sense of abandonment, a lack of trust. Because in the child's world, the proximity to the mother is what arrests separation anxiety, because that is an organizing principle of all young animals to follow their mothers for a specific period of time and it goes away. But because the sympathetic nervous system is responsible for capturing the neurological activity that is correlated merely to the experiential, these correlated emotional experiences and dynamics of a child's mind are trapped and put on repeat in the mind of the narcissist. An entitlement that comes from the caregiver and the need for supply comes from the short duration reflective emotions. The manipulation has to do with their Their literal defensiveness against the emotional changes of others, and their lack of empathy is due to the subordination of all normal emotions, causing them to live in a cause and effect reality. People pleasers and narcissists. There you go.